Sideshow, right?
Sideshow.
Aight, peace. Welcome back. Jansport J Beats in the background. Shout out, friend of the show. They were just out here, but man, I couldn't get it together to go link up with him. His manager hit me up, was like, "Yo, let's get up," and I was like, "Fuck." I was waiting for Phonics, and then Phonics was busy. So, but yeah. Super dope producer. You guys have probably heard his music. He had that one beat that Benny Freestyle blew up on a year or two ago. He's on the Coast Contra album, a West Coast
Is he
legend.
not a Grammy winner now? Because
That work
he was
that
on the
do with-
Nas
Yeah,
joint,
he's
right?
sending. He's a co-producer on some of those tracks with Hit Boy. So yeah, he might have a Grammy now.
Might have a Grammy.
But man, long time fucking just dope producer for a long time before he got those accolades from the Benny fans and the Hit Boy Grammys. So yeah, man, fucking Jansport J. I'm just playing a couple beats off Los Angeles Soul today. Me and Jet, Secret House, along with our man L Spade, who's not here today. I won't say it again because we said in the last two videos, and our listeners probably know that. So he'll be back soon. Today we're going to talk about the new album from West Coast California artist Sideshow. It's called 2mm, 2mm. Don't just stand there. Is
Don't
it
Just
like
Stand There.
Is it like a
I
camera?
thought it was just called Don't Just Stand There. I didn't realize
Okay.
that there was. Oh yeah, the cover has the 2mm, right?
I think on Spotify it says
2mm.
Yeah, I was.
I don't know. Mine is just listed as Don't Just Stand There.
Okay, let's just call it just Don't Just Stand There then, because the 2mm, I assumed that it meant like a camera lens
like
of
an
some
aperture
sort.
or something,
Yeah, because, don't just stand there. It's time to pose. It's time to show. I don't know. I'm not sure what the title means, but that's what it's called. Don't Just Stand There. 14 songs, 24 minutes. A nice breezy listen, actually. Since we've not reviewed a Sideshow project before, The Secret House, we like to discuss who it is. I mean, wait.
How we came to be aware of.
That's right.
the
I took off
artist in
my hoodie and yo, it's like, what time is it? 2:00. I haven't had anything all morning to eat, but yeah, so I'm a little bit crazy today. But yeah. So we haven't talked about him before. Let's talk about him. How do you know Sideshow?
He was on The Alchemist, This Thing of Ours. I think he was on the same track as Boldy James, who seems to have been making a very good recovery from his car accident a couple months ago.
I saw him with some women, and it looked like they were doing debaucheries. Yeah, I saw it and I was like, why would you post this? And then I was like, all right, I forget it. It's famous rapper shit. Yeah. But yeah, shout out to Boldy James. In fact, Jansport J is the person who put me on to Boldy James.
Oh, what?
Yeah, shout out to that. But yeah, I know Sideshow through his collaborations with artists. I think I know him most through Mike.
Right.
And he's got, I don't remember what tracks it was that he has with Mike.
He's on Disco.
He's on Disco, and I think he might be on War in My Pen. I can't remember. But yeah, he that's how I found out about him. And I wasn't the biggest fan of his work. I went and I tried to listen to a few albums, and I wasn't really feeling it. But there was one song that kind of made him click for me a little bit.
Yeah.
It was called Bobby the Physical, which is, I forget what album it was, but last year it was one of my most listened to songs. I didn't talk about it on our most listened to songs then because it came out like the year before.
Right.
So it's just been taking me a whole minute to kind of click with Sideshow.
Yeah.
And yeah. So this project is probably the one that I listened to most intent on trying to figure out my thoughts about him as an artist and try to figure out what he's doing. But
Yeah.
I like the guy.
Yeah.
And I think that to get towards the album and into the album, I think that despite, in consideration of all the people who are kind of in this similar lane as him, your Madonnis, your Mikes, your Navy Blues, the more abstract guys, like in a Kai Solo, that are all in this kind of, I don't know, ecosystem of working together. Ad nauseum, King Carter, and all those fools. I think Sideshow is the one that I'd be most likely to put my gangster ass nephews onto.
What?
Because he's very West Coast, and but he does have kind of that. He's got a very young energy that is not like, yo, I'm also trying to grow as a person and be wise. He does have that, but he's also just like, yeah, fuck that shit. I'm trying to, get some money. I'm trying to, you know what I mean? I like some 808, some deep drums on my shit. And yeah, he's got a very straightforward, I would say a straightforward West Coast style. Again, kind of like Maxo, where he's not trying to flip metaphors or hit you with like these super witty punchlines. He's more just straightforward and like, yeah, get up off of that, like do that shit, and I like it. He's a bit more street.
Yeah, it's not as like introspective or spiritual as the Maxo is. The Maxo I think does like have higher aspersions to trying to talk about something bigger than him and his bars and like what he's been up to. This album's very, very straightforward. In terms of its content.
Yeah. I guess let's get towards that. I was thinking that he, back in the day, like a few years ago, I'll say like 5 years ago, you used to be able to say that Griselda, Rock Marciano, and more specifically Conway, Rock Marciano, West Side Gun, were alongside the same ecosystem of Earls and them. But their trajectory went a little bit more mainstream while keeping a lot of the same sound aesthetics, but it's kind of created a new subgenre within it. With your Boldy James is now largely a part of that side of it. Whereas, back in the day, Mock Hami was side by side with Griselda and Billy Woods. Wow. Now it's different, but Sideshow is, like I said, he's a younger artist. I think on the album he says that he's like 24 or like something about he's going to live past 24, which I mean, unless he's writing about next week, you know what I mean? He's at like 23 at the most. So I like him. Let's go into let me
sure.
What are your general thoughts on the album, I suppose, or add to what I say? I don't know.
I am really into how he manages and switches up his flows on this record. Okay. There's a lot of flow changes on here, and often they're very subtle. Like it will just be like one syllable gets like shifted over into a different phrase or something like that. But he never really sticks to the same flow for more than like 4 bars. Every now and then he'll go 8 bars and keep the same flow and then switch it up. But it gives the album this very like dynamic kind of free. It's almost like shadow boxing in places. You just get this constant sense of movement that I really, really appreciate, especially in production, in conjunction with the production on here.
True indeed.
The production itself, I really enjoyed actually. I felt like it maybe started a little like the opening track on that record, Tunchi Music, is one of my probably my favorite beat on the album. Really kind of reminded me of even like the UK wonky beat scene, your Hudson Mohawk, your Rusty.
I got that right there, a wonky beat.
Wonky,
yeah. Some of these beats are wonky.
This is Richard, Don Goldman, like Lindsay Lohan, that kind of whole side of things, with the chopped up vocal samples and just kind of off kilter and a bit weird. And that was dope to me. It does also skew a little bit more towards that traditional neo boom bap sound in places. But the production on here just generally I really, really enjoyed, and I think it works really well with his voice and flow.
Agreed. To first talk about his flow, like he's just really good at rapping with his style, and there is while he's not pulling off any like deep concept tracks in particular, or really trying to go towards like this focus on my lyricism type of style, he does change it up several times. Like on Mr. Couldn't Hurt a Fly with that kind of slower guitar loop, he has a kind of more laid back speaking kind of like a spoken style on that track, and it's really dope. It manages to kind of like emit a different type of feeling and vibe coupled with the beat. He's so good at rapping. I think the thing that I really like the most about this album is his production choices. Like the beats that he is picking. When you listen to like the newer Earls or some of these other artists like a Madani, like this music is more vibrant because of the drums selections and the the kind of sample choices, the way that they're flipped. It doesn't sound like his contemporaries.
Yeah, dear friend Spade would refer to a lot of the stuff in this genre as dirgy. That was always a word he liked to use. Likes to use. He's fine. He's around. And this is not dirgy. This is quite bright. It's very colorful, vibrant. And he does a very good job of it's almost like the butter on the bread, the way that he applies his flows to it. It's quite sparing. It's not massively in your face, but it's not just like ambience taking a back seat either. It's a very easy listen.
Yeah, it's also not like a lot of the music that I like, especially that last joint we played, is like Scare the Hoes music, right? This is not that. Like, you could play this. Some of these tracks, some of these tracks is like mad, summery, and vibrant, and I quite enjoy the style. There are elements of it that are reminiscent of what you might get on a Jadesy album, like that Jadesy album with the sample choices. A lot of 80s vocal, 80s R&B vocal type of flips, but there's like a wonkiness to them, and there's kind of a harder 808 type of drum splashes that are just really good. But then you'll have tracks like the Running Man Exotic, where it's like an ambient loop. It sounds like some Brian Eno, Tom Rogerson shit mixed with these field recordings is what I could call them. The album is littered with these moments of just like him having conversations with friends or sampling a conversation with his friend.
Which is something I have mixed feelings on.
Agreed.
Because while I appreciate the tone that it puts across, and you really do get this feeling of just like, oh yeah, this is something that he like did effortlessly. Like, he's just that good at it that like he made this while just having some fun with his friends, and it's better than 90% of what anyone else could do. And you get that sensation, but at the same time, like, it does occasionally disrupt the flow of things. You know, I don't like. I like the beat on TT, right? But I don't know if I really needed that right at the end of the record, especially considering it goes into Mr. Couldn't Hurt a Fly and Chez Francis, which is also an interlude for most of the track. And that could be a sequencing issue. But I was kind of waiting for like the other shoe to drop musically, and it kind of just ends. It kind of just fizzles out at the end.
I think that what he's trying to get across here is kind of like a day in the life of Sideshow type of vibe. You know, he's got a variety of phone calls on there, just the regular field recordings. And the thing about them is like, I don't know, it might hit different for like a suburban white kid who's never been around black folks. Like, wow, this is how they talk. Like, you know what I mean? Right. But you see that on TikTok. Like, for me, it's just there's not much substance to a lot of the things that they're having conversations about, other than the fact is like, oh, Sideshow did a thing. Like, oh, they were near the Louvre, and then they got like Eiffel Tower trinkets. And I guess that's dope for a cat that's, you know, never thought that they'd see the world. I felt that way when I got to travel in my 30s, you know what I mean?
Maybe being from Europe is also something that's like causing a disconnection there, because I do get this sensation. Like, this is kind of my image of like what it would be like to be in and from California, right?
It does.
This kind of like sunny, like hang out with friends outdoors all day, you know, type vibe, which you can't really do in like where I'm from.
And to be honest, like, I don't like, even though, you know what the squad looks like. Most of us is melanated, most of us are black, and we don't try to like make that the thing for the most part. We've got all types of friends, but like when the black folks get together around here, it's like Tennessee, it's London, it's like it doesn't have this vibe. But I grew up with this, you know what I mean? I was just back for Christmas, and every single conversation was that. And unlike, you know, other artists who use skits like De La, who kind of mastered the album skit.
So he's on it. He's producing on this.
I don't know. I was going to ask you who did the production on it.
Okay, because I was thinking De La as well.
No, I was saying like De La Soul.
Oh, okay.
How they mastered
I thought you meant Della, like Dela.
Oh,
is that how you
like, no.
I don't know if it's okay. No.
No, I was going towards like the skits. Like, De La created like this really great lane for album skits, and then you know, Wu-Tang and Biggie and all these other New York type of cats and all these other artists had, you know, even The Chronic has like these just skits, but sometimes it would be like funny, or on the West Coast it'd be like dirty. These are just kind of, there's not like a pseudo intellectual gem to kind of parse out for them, like a Wu gem, like a Wu skit.
I will give him full like credit for the fact that even the skits usually have some really nice ambience or like
that Running
a
Man
good
Exotic
beat
shit is
behind the
ill.
Running Man Exotic.
Yeah.
Um,
And also they say some really ill shit like, then we peruse through the purse. Like, all right, yeah, I like some goon shit like that.
What?
Shoot the local Wendy Cooper loopy type. You know what I mean? Like, do it. But I don't know how much they add to the album other than the fact it's like, here I am, here's Sideshow, this is me, and that's mostly what I get from the album.
yeah, and I think that's fine. I just wish that occasionally they would allow like a musical concept to just develop a little bit more, even if it was just letting a beat ride a little bit longer, because some of the production on here is really, really lush, and it would just be nice to kind of just hear that beat, let it ride for a moment. But that's a very kind of personal take on it, I guess.
He does, like, you know, the skits are not like super redundant, like who's old boy, the Musashi
Novelist.
Yeah, Novelist, you know, where it's like, oh my god, I got a minute of this before each track on the album. Like this, it doesn't get redundant like that.
Protects his friends out of a sense of honor.
Right. This is not like that at all. Like track 8, Thick Lick, it's like another field recording. And it's like, you know, people talking again, like trying to get my passport. I feel that. And then it has like a quasi verse. It's like 4 bars maybe at the end. And it's just like, okay, that's a really good breathing moment that kind of adds something to it. But I don't know if I get that from... It feels like there's just a little bit too much of that seasoning on this album that distracts me from it being like closer to a like a really great piece of art. It falls apart for me in regards to that, but the lyrics, the beats, it's all great. I just kind of just don't like some of the abundance of the skits.
For such a short record as well, you know, 25 minutes and then probably 17 minutes of it are rapping.
We got a Brad Pitt Ocean's 11 type of skit on there too. It's like I feel it is dope, but those kind of do make me be like, oh, come on, like get to the dope shit again. But it's good, man. I don't really know what else to say about the album other than just like pointing out a few of the things that I like. Were
Favorite
there any
tracks?
Yeah, what tracks kind of stood out to you?
Tunchi Music, 2mm, 2mm. I don't know how you want to.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Shell in a Ghost as well. All of which are tracks where like the musical idea gets to breathe and develop a little bit, right?
That one's very wavy and phased.
As wavy as and it also does invoke that.
He also gives a shout out to Giveon on that, who is like a singer. Yeah, he's on like a Black Noise album that's really dope, and I'm not too familiar, but yeah, that one's dope. Shell in a Ghost, 10 steps ahead. I take a step back to reflect. Yeah, he's ill. Yeah. Let me kind of just look through my notes here. Tunchi Music's all right. I thought it was a good way to start off the album.
You don't feel any way about the beat on there? Like I really enjoyed that beat. That was the main thing for me, and I think he flows over it really well.
It's a very strong opener, but I don't have any notes on the beat in particular other than it being, wonky with like a dope sample flip. You know, the second track also pretty wonky too, R&B sample flip, Locked Doors. He talks a lot about like, he's very young on this, like he talks a lot about like drugs and shit too, you know what I mean, like Percocets and I like Locked Doors. You know, I was just down bad on my own dick. That's pretty ill. Show, SHOW, Ent. I really like that. I really like that track. And also on that song, he does like a really dope poetic refrain. All that fake love make my love deep, and all that fake love like make me love hate, and all that fake love kept me out the way. Blah 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 3 times, and then I found real love in my mama's face. Like he's really good at these kind of poetic refrains sometimes, these lyrical refrains. White Fans is okay.
It's short enough that I just kind of like, oh, okay, sure, I get it. That's something you want to get off your chest. It's like 50 seconds long.
You know, and it's just like, you know.
Can you drop some more music?
Yeah, I know you're super busy, like, sipping lean, but can you drop some more music? It's like, all right, I get that. I feel that. But it doesn't. I do like some of the things he's talking about on that track lyrically. When I make it to the top, I'm going to drop a rope down, but he's also going to have, like, a Rolex on his wrist.
Sure.
Which is, you know how I feel about that. Cool. Dope. Another one of my favorite tracks is 2mm, 2mm.
Yep.
That person, Valley, I don't know if that's how to pronounce the name, Valee.
Yeah.
He has an interesting style. The beat is ill. It's a very dope summer vibe. The sample it's a sample, but there's some really nice synth chords all through the track. And just saying dope shit like, I've been thumbing through this cash. I need some new thumbs type of lines. And I really like that one. And, man, TT. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like
Titty,
crying.
TT,
Oh, is it Titty?
I don't know.
That one.
Still might go with big titties. So.
Yeah, I like that. It almost starts off with like this Boards of Canada type of beat with a field recording, and yeah, he's like, Shorty had some tires titties
stuffed in her shirt.
Yeah, it had some tired titties. I thought he said tired titties, like, you know, they was mad droopy, but then he was like, nah, it looked like she had tires tucked in her shirt. I fuck with that. I like that. I really like Dollar T in Dead Leg. That's the title of it. Yeah, I actually don't like what is being done on Dead Leg. That kind of the drums, the you know, when the drums come in on Dollar T part of it, it's really ill. But the change up at the end of the beat with Dead Leg, it's like hella chopped and truncated female vocal stabs, and it's just like the vocal stabs completely ruin the song for me. It's one of those tracks. It's like, I just like aesthetically, I just don't feel like hearing it.
I feel like it was too short for me to have. Like, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is the switch up. Okay, I prefer the first half. Okay, the track's over.
You know, when I was listening to it, I was like, man, I really like that song Dollar T, but you know, TT's whack. Like, I don't like that one. And then I looked, and it was just like a split track, and I was like, okay. So that's one of those. It's one of those positions where you really like one half of the track and you don't care for the other half, so you gotta just, every time you hear it, you kind of just run it back or skip it forward. But yeah, and my last favorite song, Mr. Couldn't Hurt a Fly.
Yeah.
Not the police can't cuff this woman. He's just got some really dope lines on there. What's with this jet lag you speak of, nigga? We get money because we need more Skrilla. Tired of preaching, I don't feel no, nigga. Tired preaching, don't need no feelings. Tired of preaching, I need me a weapon. He's ill, bro. Like, I like Sideshow. Something about him just clicked for me recently.
Silent,
and I fuck with it. Like, of course, these are... So did I say my favorite three, or did I just list off a bunch?
I think you just listed off a bunch.
All right,
but we get the feeling.
Okay. I'm just gonna restate them and keep it moving. 2mm. I really like. Mr. Couldn't Hurt a Fly, and Show Entertainment. SHO. So yeah, for me, I couldn't in good faith, like, I wouldn't recommend this to kids.
What?
I wouldn't recommend this to
not.
I wouldn't recommend this to like my nephew. Even though my nephew's son, guarantee he like 14. He a good kid. I wouldn't recommend it to him because I don't really care for the glorification of drug usage in this manner. There's just a little bit too much talk about sipping lean and Percocets, and I really think that those are mostly just a detrimental thing that a kid could fall into. Worse than alcoholism. But with alcoholism, it's so normalized that it's just like whatever. Yeah. And weed, it's like, my nephew ain't gonna fucking get addicted to weed like that and really throw his life away. But the perk in the lean talk, I wouldn't. But I would recommend this to like my nephew's dad. He's 4 years younger than me. And I think he will fuck with it. This kind of reminds me of like a West Side Boogie, like, young gangster kid doing his own thing, being West Coast wavy, and middle fingers in the air to the police and to the government and all that shit,
Yeah. I guess I would recommend it to people who enjoy the West Coast hip hop but want something a little more radical. Maybe not politically so, but there's a little bit more chaos to this. It's not just like, doing an imitation of G-Funk or just being like this positive rap that I actually can't stand.
Despise, this was an interesting listen alongside the Maxo because both of them are kind of like West Coast, straightforward stylers, but and musically they sound so different. I'm not sure if I know anybody that is really on the same vibe as Sideshow, maybe like a Seafood Sam a little bit, but it's also very different. This Sideshow's music is kind of unique to me while still sounding like some shit that I've that I've heard, like an amalgam of it or some shit. Like the wonky beats are different than almost all his contemporaries.
I mean, like, I don't know if you like Cool Keith, maybe. You know, there's that kind of off-kilterness of it, but at the same time, it's kind of just fun and cool.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Cool Keith. Shout out to Cool Keith.
Like
man.
sex style
Dr.
era
Octagon.
Cool Keith without without the porno core elements. Although there is a bit of that in there as well.
Yeah.
You know, there is an entire track about big tits, but yeah.
Hey, I fuck with it, man. Sideshow for sure. If you gotta drop the aux, if you gotta play the one song for the homies to put them on to this, which one are you playing?
Track 1, Tunchi music. Yeah. The beat is, I think that beat is going to be the barometer of are you on board or not.
Okay.
Everything else stems from that.
I was going with...
You hear the production, you hear his flows on there, and you're like, yo, this is tight, then you're going to like the album. If you're kind of like, then maybe you're not going to gather like too much from this, because this is, that's the album, the most kind of bright and vivid and colorful track on the record. Plus, he's, switching up his flows a lot, and you get like a good selection of what Sideshow does from that track.
Everything that you said, but just applied to 2MM. I think the beat is ill. It's a summery vibe. The flows are solid. The content of the flows is like open enough to get people just be like, all right, it's time to vibe. We chilling. It's like, it's not scaring the hoes. It's just fucking, I feel a lot of these things that he's saying too. So yeah, and Sideshow. Shit was iller than I thought. Shit was iller than I expected.
Yeah, it's ill.
Shout out to L Spade.
Big up L Spade.
Secret House Against. Shout out to Jansport J. Beats in the background. Yee.